Okay, good afternoon. This is Brian Stevens with Realtors of Faith. I am super excited to have my new friend, Phillip Cantrell, with us this morning. And just getting to know Phillip a little bit, man, I can already tell this is going to be an amazing time together. He's got a lot of wisdom, and there's just a lot to unpack here. So I hope you enjoy this. Phillip, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Brian. I am so glad to be here. I know you're in Florida and I'm in Tennessee, but it's rainy here, so I hope you got some sunshine there.
Yeah, it's pretty nice out here right now. We're starting to break into the 70s, which is kind of nice for us. So we're
Yeah,
not used to that, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. It can get sultry
Yes,
in
yes.
Florida in the summertime. Yeah, yeah.
Let me just kind of give them a little brief. So Philip has written a book, and it's called "Failing My Way to Success," and it's amazing. You should see that just the nuggets in here. And so, a little bit of what we want to unpack is the book. We want to talk about our faith in Christ. We want to talk about real estate. We want to talk about entrepreneurship, and just touch on a few things. But just to give you an idea of Philip's background, there's a lot here. But a brief summary is he is an executive vice president of strategy for United Real Estate. He's got over 25,000 agents, annual revenue approaching 35 billion, and United is ranked as the number one fastest growing residential brokerage in the country by Real Trends. So that sounds really fun and a lot of work and a lot of production. So, but let's just go right to the book if that's okay. Let's just kind of dive in.
Sure,
And
sure.
with respect to your journey in business, I know you talk about the 4-4-2 win-loss-tie record. And so, I thought about this. I'm a big sports fan, right? And as of the recording of this video, my Buccaneers are 4-1, season ticket holder. So,
A lot better than the Titans, I'll tell you
yeah, I
that.
know, but you got a good quarterback. You got some good stuff coming on, right? I saw.
Yeah.
But honestly, if you think about it, Philip, if our sports teams were 4-4-2, we may not think it's a very good season, right? We may
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
so kind of how does that, when you think about some of your business journey, how is that kind of reflect? How do you kind of view that?
Yeah, so the title of the book is, as you said, "Failing My Way to Success," but the subtitle is kind of the key here. Lessons from 42 years of winning and losing in business. And what I have tried to do, Brian, is basically record all of my failures and all of my wins and say, these are the lessons that I learned along the way. I can give you a business precept and describe it for you right out of the textbook as good as anybody. But if I give you a story that goes with that, of what actually happened to me and how I stepped on this pothole and twisted my ankle, perhaps the next generation that reads that can avoid stepping on that same pothole. So that was the mission there. The 10 businesses I actually have. I sat down one day and I figured this out back in 2018. I just was jotting one day. I'm a big journaler. I like to write down things, and that's something I stress to everybody. When you have an idea, write it down. Write it down, because if you don't write it down, it's gone. I don't care how smart you think you are, it will be gone unless you've written it down.
It's good.
And I sat down and I wrote out the number of businesses that I had founded, and I came up with the total number of 10 separate companies that I founded in my career in two separate industries. I spent 19 years in commercial printing before I got into real estate. The commercial printing was sort of the family industry where all the family contacts were and that sort of thing. So, lazy college kid coming out of college, you can actually gravitate toward what's easy. So I did that, and then that was the first one. My dad and I started a printing company together. But in those two industries, 10 separate companies, and my success rate, I just listed them all out, and I put a W, an L, and a T beside each one, and that's where I came up with the 4-4-2. So 4 wins, 4 losses, and 2 ties. Which in business really is kind of like kissing your sister, right? It's kind of like, it's a loss. So just call it what it is. I'm trying to be
Right,
polite, soften the
right.
blow. So really it's 4 and 6. So you could say I'm a loser, but but my wins have been pretty good. The company that you mentioned United Real Estate, but actually I'm the founder of Benchmark Realty in Middle Tennessee. We're also in Kentucky and Alabama and Georgia now. That is a company that I started with me and a desk in the front bedroom of our house in 2006, and we built it up, and today we have right at 2,000 affiliates across the area I mentioned, and we will do about $5 billion worth of real estate. So the Lord's been really good to us on that one, growing the company. It's continued to grow. actually sold the company to merged it with United Real Estate in 2020. So the title that you mentioned earlier is purely gratuitous to keep the old man involved in the
Sounds
business.
great, man. Sounds great.
Yeah, but I do help advise their overall larger strategy on a national basis, which is kind of fun. It's kind of fun. It gives me the ability to extend and continue influence, even though beyond these geographic boundaries here in Tennessee, which is really fun. That's kind of the story. The losses have been some have been bloodier than others. Some have been what I would call incremental or slight losses. Those kind of fold more toward the ties, I guess you would say. But some of the losses have had major zeros behind them. We can dive in that as deep as you want to, but the whole point of this is that I've had my liquidity event. And so I really am not going to get any more than a salary going forward from the company that I founded and built. Well, why do you keep showing up for work? Well, I keep showing up because I feel that people in this role, and we see it over and over again, people in my position, they take the money, they go to the farm or the beach house or whatever, and they just kind of quietly fade away. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also believe that we have a moral obligation to transfer what's in here to the next generations coming on behind. My strongest center North Star is that I have to leave everything I enter, every relationship I enter. My goal is to leave it better than it was when I came there, when I found it. So that's how I view this. So taking that information with me to the beach house, who is that helping? That is not helping society. And I think that we have an obligation as leaders to share our knowledge freely with as many people as necessary. And, that is biblical, right?
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, you're being generous, right? You're just out of generosity of your time, right? Like you said, you could go retire on the beach, but the truth is when people retire too early, and retirement's not in the Bible. You and I talked about that in our
100%.
conversation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and it's like you said, it's just about helping other people in God's timing. And when you can go pour into others, I think of God was generous when he gave Jesus, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he sent his one and only
That's
son.
the ultimate generosity of giving your own son to help the whole
Right.
world. I mean, that's the epitome of generosity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what you're doing with your time is generous. And you were generous enough even to meet with me today. So I love that. That's really good how you can kind of pass that on. So 4 wins, 4 losses, a couple ties. If you had to sum up maybe something about the losses or the ties, which again, kind of behind us, you put them behind us, you learn from them, you get back up. What's something that kind of hits you, maybe who's somebody who's suffered a recent loss, who's watching this, business-wise or entrepreneurship? What would you tell them as they're trying to stand back up quickly? Anything?
Yeah, a lot. First of all, we have to understand and fundamentally embrace that failure is going to happen at some point in your life and your business career. It's just it's there. It's Satan. It's the way the world works. People are going to try to combat you. In fact, I use an interesting analogy in the book that people are herds. They're kind of like a flock of chickens. When one chicken gets a little damage on him, others will turn on him and peck him to death. So the point there is that when one person stands out from the crowd, when one person tries to go ahead of the crowd, when one person tries to actually improve themselves, then they immediately get attacked by others. And that's what I call the attack of the naysayers. There are going to be people that criticize you. There are going to be people that say, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. You can't do that. That's illegal. First they laugh at you, then they criticize you, then they attack you. That's the series that it goes through every time. And you have to know confidently, hold your head up, that is going to happen, particularly when you begin to attain a certain level of success. And they will have if you do anything outside the norm in our industry, you're in real estate, I'm in real estate, our industry is really bad about this, that you can't do it that way. And the answer is usually because we've never done it that way, right? Which is a dumb answer. It's a dumb reason for not changing.
Yeah.
So it's a constant process of improvement, modification, knowing all the while that you are going to be attacked and that you will make mistakes. You will make mistakes and they will fail and you will be face down in the dirt. And that's number one when the Lord comes into play in your life.
Yes.
had a really interesting. I started Benchmark in 2006, and we were primarily focused on custom home builders in Williamson County, which is Franklin, Brentwood area. Is now the 12th wealthiest county in America, believe it or not, right here in the middle of Tennessee. And so we were dealing with high-end builders, and built a team up to about 13 agents, and I thought I was going to die fat and happy doing that. Well, late 2007, guess what happened? Okay,
Yeah.
the crisis began to creep in, and then we realized it hit the high-end stuff first, and it hit so hard, so fast. It's like somebody flipped the light switch off and forgot to tell us the store had closed.
Yeah.
Literally, the phone just instantly, like from one week to the next, stopped ringing. So what are you going to do? Simultaneous with that, my largest builder came to me and said, my houses are not selling, and I believe it's Benchmark's fault, so I'm going to go start my own real estate firm. And he's like, well, that stinks, but that's a business decision. What I didn't know at the time is that he'd already enticed 7 of my 13 agents to go with him to start this new firm before he came and talked to me. So kicked to the curb and then stomped in the guts. That's when you get close to God. That right there is when you get close to the Lord. And if you don't do that as a first response, then you will never have the long-term recovery that you seek, that you desire so deeply. So you get on your knees and you fundamentally see what the Lord wants you to do, or try to listen to what the Lord wants you to do. And there's a lot of pain and a lot of noise going on at the same time. So sometimes it's hard to hear that small, still voice in the night.
Yes.
But you have to remain steadfast in that. And so in my case, what we came up with, and I say we, I'm talking about me and the Lord, what we came up with was, hey, let's look outside this geographic area and figure out what is the model that really works in other major markets. And so we reformatted, that would have been in December of 2007. In January of 2008, I rewrote the business plan, and we switched our model from an 80-20 split to a fee-based model, or we just charge a fee per transaction up to an annual cap. And we relaunched February 1, 2008 with 5 agents, including me, literally staring at the abyss of the economic recession that was coming. And I think all of 2008, we sold about $5 million worth of real estate, and I probably did 4.5 of that myself.
Right. Yeah.
So those times are, when you have times of crisis like that, they are really what challenge you in your faith. They're really what challenge you in your security in yourself. And the security in yourself is not self. The security in yourself is given to you by the Lord. So that's how we get through those things.
That's so good. That's so good. We do grow in those times, right? That's when we grow the most. If we say, God, what are you trying to teach me out of this? Like you said, and we
Absolutely.
seek His face. It's like, all right, you got back up. It's like, Lord, all right, what's next? You're seeking wisdom. You're seeking Jesus. Like, what can I do next?
Yeah.
So,
Progress does not happen in times of peace. Progress happens in times of turmoil and stress. That's when you really sharpen the saw. That's when you really turn iron into steel. It's by constant pounding and constant flailing is how you become tougher. And just look at it put it in medical terms. Okay, penicillin was discovered in wartime. Medical advancements happen during times of crisis and wartime, not really during times of peace. They come, but they don't come as rapidly. So they come very rapidly in times of stress and turmoil. But the key is to remember them, to write them down, to not forget them, to not ignore them, to not say, okay, I made it through that and forget about it. You cannot do that. You have to internalize them and you have to document them. In fact, this is my little binder. I carry my little binder with me, my little black book with me everywhere I go to write stuff down. And I have it out here. I know you are interviewing me, but guess what? I'm going to learn something in this process too. So therefore, I've got it ready to make notes when I need to make notes. And that's a skill set I cannot tell you how important that is to my career and my life.
I'm taking notes, no pun intended of that. I just listened to a couple sermons yesterday on podcasts, and they're like, write it down. Rick Warren says, what? The shortest pencil is better than the longest memory. He says, and you forget, what is it, 93% of what you hear within 72 hours, or whatever that number is.
Yeah.
So thank you for challenging me to get back and write stuff down more.
Well, good.
Needed to hear that.
Yeah.
So in the book, you talk about the framework, the 4 cornerstones of success. What are they, and which is the most crucial to those, the cornerstones of success that really kind of stands out to you today?
That's a softball question right there.
Well, I like underhand pitches, man. I want to just serve one up to you, you know?
Well, I appreciate that. So listing them real quick, and then I'll go through each one. So it's observation, delegation, working smart, and compassion. So let me kind of peel back the layers on each of those. And these are just, again, from my own notes over a long period of time, and then trying to put a label on them. And so not something that I read somewhere and I'm regurgitating from my own efforts here. This is something that I came up with on my own. So not coming from, let's start with observation, not coming from the real estate industry, coming from the commercial printing business. I'm not from this industry, so therefore the traditional ways of doing this are not really attractive to me. They don't grab me. But what I look at are other best practices that are happening in other industries that can be applied to this industry, can be applied to this business. And even the individual practitioner can do this on their own. What are the best marketing practices that are deployed and employed by other industries? What are the best scheduling practices? What are the best showing practices? All these, everything, as I said early on, has already been done. We just have to be humble and understand that we are not the holder of all wisdom, that we need to draw upon others' wisdoms and others' progress. So that's the observation part. The delegation part is understanding understanding that I can't do everything myself. Type A entrepreneur, off the chart, high D.
Yeah.
I just the natural tendency is to I can do it myself quicker than I can explain it to somebody else, and understanding that is a fallacy that will never allow you to grow if you try to manage it that way. It's micromanagement, whatever label you want to hang on it.
Yeah.
The understanding that you must learn the skill set of delegation and then hold those people accountable that you have given those tasks to. Okay, that is key. Working smart is kind of going back to what we've already been talking about. It's writing it down. It's documenting the process. If you find a best practice for putting a listing in, find a best practice for presenting a listing presentation or doing a closing or taking the friction out of the transaction, whatever that is, document that. Document that process. We have a very strong back office compliance system here at Benchmark, and we developed that collectively. But it's a collective effort, and it's been documented all the way through, going through a constant refinement all the way through it, but we always document it. So that's the working smart part.
Okay.
And the big one, the most important one, is the compassion. And we've talked about this in our precursor to this interview. Is understanding that you can get everything you want if you help enough other people get what they want. So focus on the service to others. Hear me clearly, people, when you hear me say this.
Yes.
Focus on the service to others. If you begin to focus on the profit only or profit first, you've already lost. You have already lost. And as we said earlier, the money is a scoreboard of your service to others. It is the measure of your service to others. If you have a big number on the scoreboard, you're maximizing your service. If you have a low number on the scoreboard, you're focused on the money, and
I
you
love
have
that.
already lost.
So good. That's so
Those
good.
are the four cornerstones. But obviously the compassion is the most important one. That service to others is absolutely crucial and fundamental. It took me a long time to figure that out.
I love that. I mean, honestly, observation, delegation, working smart, compassion. I love the compassion part because I wouldn't have thought that would be in the four. That's you don't hear compassion a lot today in our society. You don't hear that.
Well, you don't. And there's a side point to my take on it, and that is the people that work for you, the people that work with you, of understanding who they are as people. So many times, particularly in my role of a company that we have 2,000 agents, we have about 35, 36, maybe 40. I don't even know how many full-time employees we have now. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, you're growing. That's good.
Understanding who they are, what their needs are, and being considerate as a leader. Now, as a leader, you have to have policies that drive the business. I get it. But you also need to, when you develop those policies, you need to humanize them. You need to say, how is this going to impact others? And that's the other part of the compassion too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, that's fantastic. Love that. So again, we talk about Benchmark Realty, and Philip, I mentioned this to you when we first started talking. I was in Nashville about a month ago sharing my testimony at a buddy of mine's church, and his wife is a realtor. And I mentioned her name, Kara, and you had heard of Kara, and you know, we kind of, but Kara said to me, because I said, how's your career going, Kara? She said, great. She goes, I work for Benchmark Realty. And I said, oh, okay, excellent. I haven't really heard. She goes, Brian, it's a great Christian company. They talk about the Lord. They do devotions. We have this huge meetings and we do devotions. And I'm like, man, that is amazing. And then she tells me that. And then 2 weeks later, the Lord hooks us up to talk. And I just thought, man, the name and your reputation, the Lord and the company are preceding, right? And so,
And I take that as a high treasure and a great honor that somebody recognizes that. I mean, we have our mission and value statements on all the walls of every conference room in the entire organization. We have about 12 offices now, and every office has multiple conference rooms, and the placard is up there of these are our mission and value statements. Number 3 is we will be guided by Christian principles, and it's right there on our conference room walls. If that doesn't work for you, no harm, no foul. Love to know you. Love to talk to you about it if you want to talk about it. We're not going to ram it down your throats. But
right.
This is who we are, and on this, we will not give 1 inch.
Amen.
Everybody knows that. And it's not just me. Right. We have been blessed to be surrounded by staff, team members, and leadership that believes the same thing. In fact, I was talking to the president of the company a while ago. When I stepped aside as CEO, I go by the title of founder now, but when I stepped aside as CEO, I passed the day-to-day activities over to a man named Scott Rowland. And every time we have a conversation, it's like, I can't believe this. This is the thought I had. And then the Lord has given me the same thought simultaneously, even though we were separate. Wow. We were talking about, we just completed our expo, which is our big annual event this past Monday, which is why I had to postpone this interview last week. But we had about 500 agents that showed up. We had 75 vendors. We rented the Franklin Marriott over here. We had buffet lunch, the whole bit. Big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, we need to go ahead and book the hotel now for next year. And we could have a bigger turnout if we didn't do it during spring break. So we were talking about that. And then I said, we probably need to have a speaker, and so we need to think about who's speakers. And he mentioned a name, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, because that's the name that came to me in a dream last night of who that speaker's going to be. So she doesn't know it yet, but she's about to get a call from Philip and see if we can hire her for next September.
Wow. Hey, that is so cool to align like that in the spirit. I mean, how the Lord it's confirmation,
Absolutely. It's a God thing. It's just every time, and I see it over and over and over again. And I think the key to that is recognizing what that is and not falling into the mistake, as so many make, of it's my own wisdom, my own largesse, my own talent. Yeah, you have talent. You have wisdom. God gave you those natural talents. It's your job to sand on them and polish on them and make them as best you can. But the basic seeds all come from a higher source, period.
Yeah. And
you have to admit that and understand that.
Yeah. And it's been the foundation of your business and still is today, this day. I can see that. So, how is your faith in Christ? Because you've been a believer for how long? I mean, try not to call out your age. I can do the same thing, but you've been walking with the Lord for a while.
Well, you can call my age if you want to. It's 66, so I'm older than dirt. See the gray hair?
I just hit the 60s club myself in April, so I know what you're saying. So,
congratulations on having a birthday. I had a drug problem when I was a kid. I got drugged to church every time the doors were open. So I had, you've heard that. It's an old joke.
That's good. Mine was different in the real way, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway.
I understand completely. I was baptized as Free Will Baptist when I was 8 years old. But, at 8, it's kind of like what you're expected to do more than what you really understand what you're doing. So I could say that my real turning point happened when I was 12. At Camp Ridgecrest in North Carolina. And got rebaptized and I fell away during college, as so many people do. Had a divorce, and for a long time I talk about this in the book a little bit, but I don't want to step on anybody's toes here, but I had a bad first marriage. I'm on my second marriage now for 25 years on the second marriage.
Amen. Awesome.
15 years with the first marriage, and just that unequally yoked thing that's talked about in the Bible. Y'all better listen to that, because that is absolutely true.
True.
We were
Very true.
unequally yoked, and so
Hmm.
during that 15-year period, I kind of had a hiatus from anything to do with the church. And so, current wife, moving ahead, she brought 3 kids to the marriage. I brought 1 kid to the marriage. We are a happy blended family, as much as you can, being as old as we are. We're
Yeah.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. What a great testimony. That's awesome. So, and so faith has been everything for you in your foundation, in
Yeah.
your success, and not just in your success, in your walk with the Lord. So if, we've got some real estate agents that are struggling maybe right now in their business, the market's iffy right now, kind of, but we're still plugging away. God is faithful. He's Jehovah Jireh. He's our provider. And I know your market, by the way, I talked to Kara the other day and she said it's still crazy, like multi-offers and things are still kind of nuts in your market too. But
Yeah.
somebody who's struggling, because I heard this the other day. I heard a couple stats. 69% of agents today have not sold one single house. I heard the other day 74%, which was a new number to me, and both are reputable. So maybe it slid that way because here we are, October. And I hate that. I don't feel, I like getting my unfair share of market share. I'm all about that, believe me, as a producer. But you
Yeah.
never want agents to struggle, honestly. And that's the reason
Right.
we're doing this podcast. So what would you like some advice you would give to somebody struggling in their business today? As a broker, realtor, as a leader, what would you say?
Well, if you're in the Middle Tennessee area, I'd say join Benchmark. We'll fix that for you. But
There you go. There's your
sorry,
solution. Yeah. Come back to
it's an
Tennessee, you need to
easy
hop on the
fix.
benchmark.
Easy fix. No, I get what you're saying. We are actually now in year 4 of just bumping along the bottom, and I'm not sure it's going to get better. But what we have found here in our business is that we've developed a mindset of stop waiting for other people to fix this. You have to take personal responsibility for your own career and your own life and your own livelihood and feeding your family. And so going back to the message of constantly polishing and honing and sanding and polishing and honing and sanding to become better at your craft, at your profession. What we have in this industry, particularly in Tennessee, is that it's way too easy to get a real estate license. It's way too easy to stay in this business, and it's way too easy to become a managing broker in this business. I think that's a self-inflicted kind of shooting yourself in the foot concept that I could lay that at lots of different reasons, but not the least of which the associations because of the dues revenue. See, they want lots of people so they can continue with the dues revenue. I get it, but as an individual, we have to take personal responsibility. The sitting around and waiting for things to happen. I put a statistic out there the other day. Everybody wants to know about leads. I got to have leads. I got to have leads. I got to have leads. That seems to be the panacea for correction to get through this tough market.
Yeah.
48% of leads are never responded to, and 72% of leads are only responded to one time. And we know statistically it takes 5 times before anybody responds to you.
Good.
So guess what happens? That means 72% of potential leads. I mean, otherwise, Zillow is selling, they sold 184 million leads last year to agents desiring leads, yet we only sold 4 million homes. You tell me what's wrong with that scenario.
Right.
The math just doesn't work.
It's a follow-up problem, right? It's a
That's
follow-up.
it.
It's
That's
a
it.
work problem. Get on the phones and work, right?
Pick up the stupid phone and
Right.
talk to your people.
Yeah.
If everyone you've ever done business with is not being touched by you every month, your business is going to fail.
Yeah.
And sadly, many of them have gone so long without touching. It would be terribly awkward now to reach out to their database, but your success is your database, plain and simple. And there is nobody coming on a white horse to save you. You're going to have to put your big girl pants on and big boy pants on and do this yourself. And if you're not willing to do that every day, then you might want to consider going and getting the JOB somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Hey, thank you for being direct. I totally agree. I just put
know
out
you do.
something because I've talked about people. Hey, what is your team doing for us? What is your team? What is your brokerage? I'm like, that's all good. But I put out something the other day, daily disciplines of an agent. Right. And what I've learned. And I said, I'm not going to go over it right now. This is about you, but make your calls, do social media posts, do open houses, show up, touch your database, right? And then I talked about our company. Then I talked about the brokerage. But the first thing was you got to do the work, man. You
That's
have
right.
to do this because you're self-employed. If you don't sell, you don't eat.
Right.
So it's
You are the CEO of your own corporation.
yeah.
And if you're not acting like a CEO and hiring and firing accordingly and engaging in the right marketing plans accordingly, then you're going to get fired as a CEO.
Yeah,
It's that simple. Yeah.
true.
Yeah, it blows my mind. I mean, people will come to me sometimes, and I haven't had it lately, but they come to me and say, "Oh, my business is in the toilet, and I just can't figure out what's going on. Can you help me?" And my first question I ask them is, "What does your database look like?" And I can tell by the way they answer that question what I'm dealing with. Because 9 times out of 10, they're making something up. Like, "Oh, well, it's great." And I said, "Well, tell me more about how great it is. Exactly how are you utilizing the CRM that we give you? Exactly how are you reaching the people? What of value are you offering them?"
Yes.
And the ability to, with the new changes in rules and regulations that we've had because of the class action lawsuits, a lot of agents are really struggling with a conversation with the buyer representation agreement. You have to do that on the front end now. We didn't have to do that before. You didn't ever have to do it in Florida,
Right.
but now you have to, and so you can't just go in and say, "My services are free and get in my car and let's go." It's not that easy anymore. So
Right.
that, I think, is a big reason why a lot of them are struggling.
Yes.
They haven't been able to articulate their own value proposition.
Good. Yes.
I stood up in our annual summit in February of 2020. This is before everything got locked down in 2020. And I said, I exposed the team, and this was probably 400 people in the room, 400 of our agents. I said, "This is the lawsuits that have been filed. This is what's coming. This is what the plaintiffs want, and they're probably going to win simply because what they're basing it on is fact. And the fact that we followed the required rules and contributed all our listings to MLS is probably considered collusion in some circles."
Yeah.
So that was the basis of the lawsuit. And I told them that day, I said, "The days of guaranteed shared compensation are going to disappear within the next 2 years." And look what happened.
Wow.
So we've been hammering on this and hammering on this and hammering on this. And to the agents out there, if your broker doesn't have any idea what I'm just talking about, what we're just talking about, find another brokerage.
Right. Yes. Right.
DXP led the charge on the forms changes, and we
Right.
copied right along behind them. So
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
doing the same thing. So
Yeah.
and that's where, circling back around to your initial conversation about, people that are suffering, how do you deal with that? What advice do we have for them? Pay attention to your business. It is a business, and continue to seek out every source that you can to improve your skill set, and you'll win. You'll win even if you do that halfway. You'll win because the other half is not doing it at all. And that's my advice.
That's good. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then, hey, this has been amazing. And man, there's so much more I could ask you, but I want to respect your time too, because there's so many different ways we could go down. You and I have got a few years experience in the business. What's one piece of advice you wish you knew like 30 years ago that you could like pass on to somebody else, whether it's to your 30-year-old self? I've heard that, but like, what's something like a big nugget, and you've given me so many today, that you would want to pass on to somebody else?
We talked about a lot for sure. I think that the main thing I'd like to get across also, and it kind of dovetails into what we just were speaking of, is the value of minor course corrections and how important it is when you seem like the incremental course corrections are not really, or incremental improvements in what you're doing in your daily activities are not really not having effect. But just keep in mind, let's use math to illustrate this, okay? And I do this in the book, but so 1 to the 365th power is what? It's 1.
One still.
Okay, so 1 365 times is still just 1.
Right.
So no improvement, no change at the end of the year, 365 days in a year, okay? If you do one thing extra, 1%, 1.01 at the end of the year is actually 42.6, okay? So you can have a 40% improvement in your productivity, in your outcome, simply by making a 1% improvement. But wait, it gets crazier. 2% improvement at the end of the year equals 1,377. So a simple 2% improvement in your daily activities, your daily productivity, equals nearly 1,400% improvement in outcomes at the end of the year.
Huge. That's called compounding yourself, right?
That's right.
I mean,
That's right. And it's almost It's a conversation a lot of people have a hard time understanding until they actually sit down with a calculator. 2%, you have a 1,400% improvement. There you go.
That makes a better you for you and a lot of other people, you know? And
Think what that does for everyone around you,
right.
for everyone in your family, for everyone in your business, for every life that you touch. And you believe if you can do that, the world won't be a better place when you are gone.
Right.
1,400% better.
And here's the thing, it's not always like frills and sexy and like you're out there, right? It's stuff that you're in the grunt work, right? You're doing the stuff that is boring sometimes, right?
Well, absolutely. You have to embrace the boring. You have to absolutely embrace the boring, because the discipline is what gets you through the tough times, gets you through the failures, gets you through the hardships. It's the discipline of it. And I can give you 1% improvement right now just as a tip. If you'll sit down at the end of every day and you will write down the 5 most important things for you to accomplish tomorrow, and if you do that every day, in a year, you will have at least 100% improvement in your income.
I love that. Wow, man. That, you know what? Drop the mic. That's so good. Write it down, journal. Okay.
That's right.
Got
right.
through. So, Phillip, thank you so much. Seriously, this was a real honor for me. And
me too.
This was great. How do people connect with you? I'm going to put some of your information below, but anyway, any way to connect with you, what's best?
So, phillipcantrell.com, Phillip with 2 L's. That's my website, and that has the book link information on there, as well as a little bio on me.
Go get the book, you guys. Go get the book.
You go. And my email is creatively named Phillip at phillipcantrell.com. So it doesn't get much easier than that. Happy to help anybody that I can along the way. Just reach out to me.
Thank you for your time today, brother. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all these nuggets, and
been a pleasure.
we will stay connected. God bless you.
Absolutely. Same to you, Brian. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.